Of SNJ today. Talk a little high school hoops. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, guys. How are you this morning?
Hey, doing well. Thanks for joining us. Do you miss your days as host of the South Jersey Sports Report?
We had this conversation a lot, Sully. I missed it more when it was a 9 to 11 show. 8 to 10. You're doing a great job, and continue to carry the torch.
That's why whenever we get you on, I'm always like, 9:15 sounds good for Mike. 9:30.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, man, it's tough. I was up at about 6:30 today, and it takes about 20 minutes to de-ice the car.
Yeah, you got to get up and moving and get things organized. But you guys are doing a great job, and like you said, it should be a great weekend of high school hoops.
Did you hear the new intro?
I did not, actually.
Oh man, Mike Gill did a nice job with that. Whoever that voiceover guy is, he's worth every penny.
I'll have to check it out.
You'll have to give Gill a hard time today about a great new intro that you didn't get.
Yeah, I'll be sure to do some gentle ribbing with him.
Now you're going to be calling the game tonight?
Yes, the CBA St. Augustine game, which should be a good one. I mean, this was a great matchup last year. It was the non-public A South championship game, and I'm sure people remember St. Augustine was basically just plowing through everyone. They took a couple losses early in the season last year. One, I think, out on the West Coast there in a tournament, maybe another one against a powerhouse during the year. You know what? That first loss, I think, in that early season tournament for St. Augustine was it. So they were like 30-1 or something like that going into that matchup with CBA and heavy favorites. And the Colts really just shot the lights out. I think they went 11 of 12 for 3 in that game. St. Augustine played well, but not a lot you can do when a team's that hot. So certainly St. Augustine has revenge on the mind, and it should be a good matchup tonight and probably a precursor because you could definitely see these two teams more than likely matching up again somewhere deep in the non-public A South playoffs once again. Who's your partner tonight, Gill? Me and Mike Gill. Mike and Mike on the call. 6:30
nice.
Tip, although things usually run a little bit late. I think they usually only leave an hour and a half between games over there. So 6:30 officially, probably closer to 6:45.
You can catch that game here on 97.3 ESPN. We'll also be carrying the Atlantic City Pleasantville game tomorrow. Mike, give me your thoughts on this tournament. It's obviously a tournament you're pretty familiar with, and seems to be just a great atmosphere every year. And we had Coach Gene Allen on earlier in the show, as well as Mike McGarry, and both of them talking about how it's a great slate of games, not only today but tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is that month of the high school basketball season in South Jersey where you get one of these marquee tournaments every weekend. I mean, we have the Shoot Down Cancer tournament at St. Augustine coming up in a few weeks. The Cherry Hill East Invitational, I believe, is next weekend, and it usually all starts with this Battle by the Bay, and of course it's centered around that game, Atlantic City versus Pleasantville, and that's sort of a spectacle in and of itself. I mean, you have the basketball, but you also have the rivalry between the towns, and the cheerleading rivalry at halftime, so that's all good stuff. But yeah, like you said, the tournament itself, you get some great matchups over the years, and get some great players over the years as well. I think the most recent big-name player to take part in this is Carl Anthony Towns when he played for St. Joe Metuchen a couple years ago. They came down and played, and yeah, you get a chance to see some of the local teams go up against some of the teams, some regional powers, if you will. You saw it last night with Atlantic City able to hold its own against a big-time school, big-time competition, and you get a chance to see some teams kind of cycle in and out every year. I know Ocean City and Cedar Creek got a chance to play in it this year, and they're not usually there at the Battle by the Bay, but both teams having pretty good years, so they get the invite this time. And, Wildwood Catholic, Middle Township coming up later on today. They're both regulars at the event. Southern Regional, has become sort of a force there in the Shore Conference, and they've come down for the last few years. So, yeah, great chance to see some matchups that you wouldn't normally see, and also some rivalry games, like I said, with it centered around AC Pleasantville.
Talking with Mike Frankel of SNJ today. Mike, give me some of your thoughts on the halftime show, Pleasantville versus Atlantic City, these cheerleaders. We were talking to Coach Gene Allen, and he said the Atlantic City cheerleading coach, she's got these girls for a month out there practicing at 6 a.m, and it's something to behold. I mean, it's kind of like a movie, like Set It Off or one of these cheerleading dance-off competitions, and really just a great kind of halftime show. I mean, these girls really go at it. There's as much intensity in that as there is in the game, I think.
I think the movie you're trying to get there, Sully, is Bring It On. If I'm up
there you
my early 2000s and or late 90s movie trivia, but yeah,
Bring it on. There you go.
It's a spectacle. I mean, and obviously, most people are there to see the basketball game, but don't get me wrong, there's a contingent of people there just to see what happens at halftime with the cheerleaders. It's mostly friendly. I mean, sometimes security has to kind of stand in the middle because they're trying to one-up one another.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, whatever outlet I've been at, whether it's been NBC 40 or now SNJ Today, I'm going to bring a camera over there on Sunday. I mean, I'm sure to shoot a little bit of the cheerleading competition because that's a big part of the day as well. And, in terms of the basketball, AC sort of had Pleasantville's number for the last few years, but, usually momentum can't change at halftime, right? But the crowd gets going with that event. So those guys are in the locker room and they hear the cheers from each side, and who knows, maybe that provides a little boost for the basketball players coming out in the third quarter. I
mean, that crowd gets into a frenzy. If you've never been over there, take a ride over just for that game. I mean, it's worth the price of admission. And what an event, what a spectacle that game is. And are you surprised that it's become such a big thing? I mean, obviously this town rivalry goes back years, decades even. And, like Mike McGarry was saying, that can be the highlight of your season. You win that game.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's kind of more to gain on the Pleasantville side these days just because Atlantic City has had all of that recent success. You talk about the state championships, and you talk about in terms of this meeting, AC sort of had the Greyhounds number. But, yeah, if Pleasantville can find a way to win that game, I mean, that's really, that's a feather in their cap for the season. Who knows what's going to happen down the line in the playoffs. But, if you're the Greyhounds, obviously an underdog sort of year in, year out these days, if they're able to hang with the Vikings and somehow pull out a win, absolutely, that's make or break your season right there. Not necessarily break, but like I said, a lot more to gain than to lose if you're Pleasantville. But yeah, just, and the other side of that is you have people sometimes go out and go watch that game. They maybe won't watch any other high school basketball game throughout the year. You're talking about the casual fan, but they will go out and watch that game. So you're right. It's sort of more than a game. It's an event, and it's a great way to cap off the Battle by the Bay.
Will there be a Pete Thompson sighting this weekend?
I don't know. If we're going to do one of those Super Bowl prop bets, I guess I'd probably put it at maybe 3-1. I'm sure, Pete would like to get over there, but he's also got to get ready for the big game on Sunday. So, yeah, I'd say put it at 3-1 and
3-1 odds.
See how Vegas handles those bets.
You giving or taking?
I would probably take that action, but I'm no Brent Musburger. I'm no gambling man.
Talking about Mike Frankel of SNJ Today. Mike, fill us in on what's going on with SNJ Today. I know you've been hard at work on that for the past year or so. Where do things stand with that? Give our fans a little bit of an insight of where they can catch you on the TV dial.
Yeah, absolutely. SNJ Today. So we are on the channel is called WACP, and we're weeknights at 7 and 11. Cape May, Atlantic County, it's channel 26, 789 up on the HD. Other counties, Cumberland, Gloucester, throughout South Jersey, it's channel 4 and 789. But, yeah, doing the daily news weeknights, and in terms of high school sports, just trying to do a lot of the same things that were done in NBC 40, give sort of a spotlight to the local high school sports, local college sports. I know I was all over South Jersey this past week. We had some rowing hoops on there, some rowing women's hoops. Of course, Cole's sister there, part of that great Profs women's team that is more than likely going to clinch the NJAC regular season championship. Some great high school basketball games, some highlights we had on this week. Washington Township against Camden. That's a battle of two top 5 teams. Of course, I had highlights of Atlantic City Holy Spirit boys the other night. Gloucester Catholic, Rancocas Valley girls. So, yeah, a lot of the same great coverage of Cape Atlantic League extended, and also some other leagues now that we're in a bigger coverage area, a lot more Olympic Conference, a lot more Tri-County Conference. So if you haven't checked it out, weeknights 7 and 11, channel 789, SNJ Today. You
still with us, Mike?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, all right. I heard a little click. I wasn't sure if we lost you.
No, I like to make a bang as I go out, but I wouldn't just hang up on you.
Tell us about your life a little bit in the last year or so. I mean, obviously, you and I are kind of in similar situations. Our careers didn't quite go the way we thought they would, and we decided to try some new ventures. Myself with Glory Days Magazine, you with SNJ Today. What's it been like trying to build that up from the ground floor? And a lot of hard work goes into that. You have a young family. What's it been like the last year or so in your life?
Yeah, it's a lot of hard work, like you mentioned, and I think the people of South Jersey really, you know, there was sort of that void there when NBC 40 went away, and we've had this conversation before, but I've always wanted to stay local and continue to try to put a spotlight on South Jersey sports. So great opportunity when SNJ today sort of got organized near the end of NBC 40's run. And, you know, it's, like I said before, it's similar. It's not the same. It's some new faces. It's some of the old ones too. But yeah, as you know, with Glory Days magazine, you got to go out and, you know, you got to get your hands and your feet dirty, if you will, and, you know, make those connections and then try to gain, whether it's readers or viewers in this case. But, you know, it's all good stuff, and it doesn't feel like work. And, you know, again, for the people that maybe haven't found us yet, just check it out. If you're looking for that local news, local weather, local sports, I mean, the Philly stations aren't going to come down and do it the way we're doing it. So, obviously, I think it's a great thing for the South Jersey viewing area in terms of local sports coverage and weather and news, like I said. And, you know, just give it a shot if you haven't checked it out yet.
Well, I know you know your wife has to put up with a lot of long hours and trials and tribulations as you try to get this thing going. So Valentine's Day is coming up, buddy. You got to come through this year.
Yeah, that's usually a situation where maybe the weekend before I'm trying to scramble and figure out what to do there. But yes, thank you for the heads up, Sully.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Step up your game, man. Step up your game.
Try to get my ducks in a row here and get something organized.
Mike, anything else really stand out to you in terms of the high school basketball season so far?
I think St. Augustine obviously has been a huge story, and, you know, there was sort of that side story last weekend. I don't know how much you guys have talked about this, but, you know, all of a sudden Justin Mutz became a story and that he didn't play for St. Augustine. And, you know, I talked to head coach Paul Rodeo after that game, and he had mentioned that Mutz was up sort of practicing with St. Benedict's, and, you know, that kind of became a side story and, you know, maybe a little bit of a distraction, but at the same time, ho-hum, St. Augustine sort of goes through the rest of its schedule this week with Mutz back in the lineup, and they're still undefeated. So they're going to be tested tonight against CBA. I think that's one of the key games of the high school season, at least regular season. And, you know, after that, it's sort of been, you know, what can some of these public schools in the Cape Atlantic League do? Atlantic City, obviously, what are they, 12 or 13-1 right now? Mm-hmm. So, and they don't really have all their guys. I mean, Leon Daniels hasn't been able to get on the court for them. So I don't know if he's going to play this year. I'd be interested to see what they look like with all their pieces, because they would only get better, I think. But I think Atlantic City is a team to watch. But when you really break it down, South Jersey Group 4, State Group 4, so tough this year. You know, I talked to Gene Allen before the season. He knows he has the talent, but you got to get it done on the court. I mean, you're talking about so many great South Jersey Group 4 teams, Washington Township, you know, the Cherokees of the world, the Easterns, and then after that, if they're able to pass through that, you know, you're talking about probably running into Linden. So I know a lot of people would like to see AC get a state title this year. It's obviously much harder than just sort of snapping your fingers and making it happen. But I think that's definitely something to keep an eye on. How can AC handle its schedule down the stretch and also into the playoffs?
And then, you know, on the girls' side, really interesting to me is that Cape Atlantic American Conference. You got Holy Spirit, Atlantic City, and Mainland all kind of vying for position, trying to take that title. And there's been some great games between those teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's sort of the parity on the girls' side, as you alluded to. I mean, I'm really looking forward to that Cape Atlantic League tournament. I think a lot of teams have a chance to win that thing. In years past, maybe we'll just talk about last year, it was basically Ocean City and Lower Cape May, right? I mean, yeah. No disrespect to the other teams, but it was sort of destined that those teams were going to meet up in the final, and they did, and Ocean City won. Well, that's not necessarily the case this year. I mean, you have a team like Ocean City, you know, Middle Township, Holy Spirit, Mainland, Atlantic City has looked really good on the girls' side. So those five in particular, you know, even Wildwood Catholic, I think, only has one or two losses. So
yeah, even a team like Absegami's got 10 wins, so they could be a factor.
Absolutely. I mean, it's really going to come down to, and maybe this is a little cliche, but the team that gets it done on the court. I mean, you can't just come in with your record and your name and expect to go through that tournament. You're going to have to get it done on the court and really grind out some wins in that girls' Cape Atlantic League tournament.
Good stuff, Mike. Appreciate you hopping on board, and we'll see you this weekend.
All right, guys. Looking forward to the call tonight. CBA, St. Augustine, like I said, should be one of those good sort of late regular season matchups, and I know the Hermits have some revenge on their mind.
Good stuff. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Enjoy the day.
All right, thanks. That was Mike Frankel of SNJ Today. Check them out, 789 on your HD dial.